Alrighty, so take two. In terms of doing the season preview of the Portland Timbers after the first take, I did the season preview of this team, even uploaded onto my channel, and then I immediately got people commenting that there's no audio in the video. So yeah, basically I have to redo this again because obviously you don't want to watch a season preview in terms of just me kind of talking, but you can't even hear what I said, even though obviously you can read the board and maybe kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about this Portland Timbers side. Now, obviously, for the Portland Timbers, they desperately want to get out of this endless cycle of mediocrity. I mean, ever since they made MLS Cup back in 2021, it's been nothing but mediocrity for this team. They've been stuck around the 40-point range pretty much going back to 2021 itself. And despite the fact that they definitely make some signings to hope to improve that and hopefully get themselves out of this endless cycle of mediocrity and this endless cycle of either just barely making the playoffs only to lose in the first round or in the playing round, or just simply not good enough to make it to the playoffs or just barely miss out on it. I don't know if that cycle is going to break through anytime soon heading into this season. But that being said, last season they finished 11, 11, and 12 and finished with 44 points. They definitely gone as farther in the playoffs than I thought they would because as you recall last season, they absolutely back their way into the playoffs. And just like Orlando City, they pretty much collapsed in the lead up to the playoffs itself. I even said that besides Orlando, the Portland Timbers they might as well just say see you next season when they get into the playoffs because yeah they're probably not going to do too much in the playoffs. And to be fair, they did win the playoff series. They kind of did avenge of that embarrassing playoff round game against Vancouver back in 2024, and they at least put up a spirited fight against San Diego FC. I mean, putting that game into game number three. And game two was kind of the definition of them putting such a spirited fight to earn themselves a third game that is. But it just kind of felt like it was just delaying the inevitable. I mean, San Diego were by far the better team in that three game series, both in game number one and especially in the crucial third game. So once again, the Portland Timbers unable to get themselves in the first round. It feels like it's a tale as old as time in these past couple of season. Their last playoff appearance is 2025, but their last MLS Cup is 2015. It's been a while since we've seen the Portland Timber won the MLS Cup, and this is despite the fact that they have made a couple more MLS Cups after winning it in 2015. I mean, they made it in 2018 where they lost to Atlanta United, and then they made it in 2021 playing a home MLS Cup as well, but they lost to NYCFC, and that one I think hurts even more than the one in 2018. The one in 2018, they were heavy underdogs coming into the game. They ran into an absolute machine that is Atlanta United that looked like a team of destiny, and indeed that was the case. But the one in 2021 absolutely hurt because of the way that it's not because NYCFC was bad or anything. They were definitely doing very well and one of those teams that really ride the momentum into the playoffs and eventually won the whole thing. But it's just that, remember what I said, going all the way back to 2016, which is the year when the Seattle Sounders won MLS Cup on the road. Ever since that, there's only been one MLS team that is able to win MLS Cup on the road, and it just happened to be that team is NYCFC, and it also just happened to be that only one MLS team has ever lost MLS Cup at home, and that team, of course, is the Portland Timbers. So yeah, obviously not in the greatest part of history, at least going back to this decade-long dominance where we see home team seems to dominate MLS Cup every single year. So yeah, they could have definitely easily had their second MLS Cup, especially even doing it in front of the home crowd as well, which would have been even more special than in 2015 when they won that MLS Cup on the road against Columbus. Now, looking at some of the transfer that they made, so they brought Cole Bassett from the Colorado Rapids. This was kind of surprising signing. I didn't think that they were going to bring him, especially I thought he was going to stay with the Rapids. But I guess with the departure of David Ajala, they had to find a replacement, and I guess Cole Bassett could be a decent replacement for him, even though he had a bit of a down year last season. They also brought in another center back in Alex Bonetag as well, and as I said, it feels like we could have an all Kiwi back line for this Timber side with Finn Sermon and him being there at the back line. And then they, of course, got Brendan By, who they hope that this is the Brendan By that they get pre ACL tear because, as I said, Brandon By his career has really completely altered after that torn ACL injury. And I've said this before: when a player suffers a serious injury like a torn ACL injury, it's always hard to try to get yourself back to your old self. And in the case of Brandon Bye, not only the fact that he has not got himself back to his old self, but he has completely fallen of what we thought was supposed to be a guy that has so much upside that maybe he may even get a move to Europe and maybe on the cusp of the national team as well. But alas, that has really not worked out for him, and it's been a long road of recovery for him, and hope that he can maybe use this season and being on a new team, maybe a way to rediscover his great form that he had before that torn ACL tear that he suffered back in 2023. And then they also signed three players from the Super Draft: Lucas Fernandez, Kim, Justin McLean, and Colin Griffith. All of these guys are going to be playing with T2 in the this next pro next season. Now, in terms of players that they lost, there's definitely some notable name. David Agela, as I mentioned, they lost him this off season. He's going to Inter Miami. Maxine Crepeau going to Orlando City. Christian Paredes, of course, going back to South America. And the same goes for Dario Zuparic, though Zuparic, of course, I believe he's going to Israel right now. And these two players, these two guys have been with the Timbers for a long time. And even though I wouldn't say they would consider to be a legend, to this team. I mean, with the way that they've been with this team for so long, I think Timbers fan will definitely miss their service in terms of what they have meant to this team for all these years. They also decided not to renew the loan of Mateus Rojas, and then they also decided to let go of Jonathan Cabecita Rodriguez, which is a move that they had to do. I mean, with him just being unable to stay healthy and just hasn't looked like the same self as he was when he light up the league when he came into this team. Yeah, they just kind of had to let him go to open a DP spot, and they also decided not to renew the loan and also purchase the outright of Felipe Cabaggio as well. Okay, the first five games that they'll be playing, they got the Columbus Crew at home before going on the road to face against the Colorado Rapids. Then they play at home against Vancouver before going on the road to face against the Houston Dynamo, and then they go on the road to face against the LA Galaxy. So it's a mixture of home away, kind of a well balanced kind of schedule to start the season for the Portland Timbers. And then look at the last five games. They play Colorado at home before playing against Charlotte FC at home. Then they go on the road to face against St. Louis City before returning home to face against the Houston Dynamo. And for their decision day game, they're going to be going on the road to face against Austin FC. So looking at the strength of this team, I'm going to go with the midfield. I think the midfield is really good on this team. And again, the replacement of David Ajala with Cole Bassett. I know he didn't have a great year last season for the Rapids, but I have no doubt he rediscovered his old form and that he's going to be a pretty good piece. And even say you could say a slight upgrade to David Ajala in that midfield. And then also you have the ageless wonder known as Diego Char still running the show, even though he is approaching that. I mean, the old saying, Father Time is always undefeated, and I have no doubt that eventually Father Time will catch up to Diego Chara. But until then, I mean, he's going to continue to run like never before. And I even mentioned before, it's hard to believe that even though he's turning 40, he still looks like he's at the prime of his career, and it's hard to believe how long he's been with this team, and easily going to be considered to be a club legend and a guy that definitely going to get a statue built outside Providence Park next to Diego Valeri. The big weakness of this team is the underachieving attack, and that's crazy to say considering that for so long I've always said the biggest weakness of this team is the defense. But last season the defense for this Timber side was actually pretty good. It was probably one of the best defensive display they have shown in years, but the attack was not. The attack was really poor last season, and for a team that for the past couple of years that was supposed to be the strength of this team, it's really hard to believe how things have really kind of turned take a 180 turn where before the issue for the Timbers was that they have a very good attack but they can't defend whatsoever. Now it seems like it's the other way around where they have a pretty good defense, but now all of a sudden their attack is not good whatsoever, and it's not because of lack of quality. I mean, this attack on paper should be much better than what they did last season. And a big part of it is because a lot of those attacking players from last season had a very poor season and underachieve. And this is why the first big question you got to say about this attacking core: will these attacking players have a bounce back season? I mean, you look at it from each side, starting off on the central attacking mid spot. With David DaCosta. I mean, he did not put bad numbers last season, but nowhere near in terms of DP quality level, in my opinion. And I think there is no doubt that they're really hoping that he's gonna be similar to what we saw Evander have. Well, remember when Evander, when he came with the Timbers, he didn't really had a great first season, but he really exploded in the second season as well. They're hoping this is going to be the same case for David DaCosta as well. And then when you look on the winger position, I mean, in the right wing, Anthony, he was the guy that of course scored the most goal, I believe, last season. But even then, he still kind of looked a bit underwhelming. And then on the left wing position with Christopher Valde, who actually play much better in the playoffs and even in the preseason as well. I remember when I went to the Coachella Valley Invitational on Wednesday when I watched the first half of the game between the Portland Timbers and the San Jose Earthquakes. He scored 2 goals in that game, and he even scored a goal where he was driving down the left channel and basically decided to rip one from the near post, even though that is almost an impossible angle to try and to score. So yeah, that just kind of shows you that he is confident, and that might be good news for Portland Timbers fan because they had a lot high expectation for him when they bought him last summer, and besides the playoffs, it clearly say he hasn't really met that expectation whatsoever. And then you look at the number 9 position of this team, and this is where I do think that this is an area that maybe they're gonna have to address by using one of their premium spot, which kind of brings me to the second point is the fact that do they decide to get a DP9 now that they have an open DP spot? Mainly because when you look at the two nines on this team, Felipe Mora and Kevin Kelsey, they're not guys that I've been considered to be MLS caliber number 9 and guys that can easily be the difference maker for this team in the 9 spot. I do think that they definitely need a DP9, and especially that now that they have one after letting go of Jonathan Capacito Rodriguez, I won't be surprised that might be the spot that they'll use. Now I know some Timbers fans might also say maybe they might look in a DP position in the midfield as well, continue to booster that. And I also say that when it comes to that midfield, one concern I will say with this Timber side, and I think maybe this goes with the entire squad as well. The depth is not very strong with this team. They don't really have a lot of depth in most area. Midfield is definitely the one area that when I look at the depth chart of this team is where I'm really concerned about this team. I mean, besides Cole Bassett and Diego Chara, the only guy that they have listed as a central midfielder is Joel Ortiz. Yeah, when you only have 3 midfielder and you're trying to run a double pivot system, yeah, that is not ideal. So that might be an area that they need to address for the remaining of this offseason, maybe even in the secondary trans window, or maybe even promote within as well, because they're a little short when it comes to the midfield spot of this team. And then the last big question I think for the Portland Timbers is Phil Neville still the right guy for this job? By the way, fun fact for you: when I went to that Coachella Valley Invitational, when I was watching the first game between the Chicago Fire and Austin FC, I saw Phil Neville and his coaching staff decided to come up in the stands, and they were actually sitting right in front of me in the stands. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. I didn't really get to talk to them, and I probably should, but yeah, that probably is the closest I will ever get in my life in terms of sitting next to a coaching staff, unless of course I pay a premium to sit near field club level. And this is also why I really love the Coachella Valley Invitational. I know some people say, well, it's just a preseason tournament. What's so special about it? Well, the good thing about the Coachella Valley Invitational is that not only you get to see your team play much closer because it's pretty much taking place at a soccer complex, but I throughout my time there, I saw some MLS players just kind of wander around near where the fans are, and that's just kind of almost unheard of in many ways. Like I saw a couple of MLS players. I even get a chance to meet a couple of players as well, including the captain for the Loons, Michael Boxall. I was actually sitting pretty close to where his family was when I was watching the Minnesota versus DC game, and I even saw Hugo Kuipers just kind of hanging around talking to people as well. Near the end line as well. So again, this is something that is just absolutely unprecedented when you see an MLS regular season game. This is why I highly recommend for people that want to go to this event, because this is one of the rare event where you can actually attend these preseason games. Usually preseason game the teams play behind closed door, but this is just such a fun little tournament that I can't wait to go again next year, and I'm really hoping next year won't be the last year that they'll do it because of the calendar. If I wonder what's going to be the future in terms of this little mini preseason tournament that they've been having for the last couple of years. But going back to talking about Phil Neville, is he the right guy for this job? No. And I'm pretty sure Timbers fans can agree with them. A lot of Timbers fans are probably not happy with the job that Phil Neville has, and I don't blame them. I mean, it's been nothing but mediocrity, which is not a big surprise. I mean, I've said this before with Phil Neville. When he was with Inter Miami, one of the biggest issue with Phil Neville team, they're very inconsistent. Throughout the season, they can have a stretch where they can go on a 4 or 5 game winning streak, and the vibes are there, and then it can quickly follow by a 5 or 6 game losing streak. And we kind of saw it again last season where there were times where the Timbers were playing well. And then there were times where they just simply looked like one of the worst teams in the league, especially late in the season where they just completely collapsed to a point where they, just like Orlando, kind of backed their way into the playoffs. So when you have a guy like that, is he really the right guy to lead the job? Especially he was a pretty unpopular hiring in the first place as well. I'm kind of surprised he lasted this long, despite the fact that a lot of Timbers fans were pretty heavily criticized in terms of the move that the front office decided to make. So yeah, obviously I think he's going to be definitely on a hot seat. I would not be surprised he might be let go if this team have a poor season. And speaking of which, when it comes to the prediction of the Portland Timbers this season, I'm going to say 6 as the highest spot because again, this team, when I look at this team itself, nothing screams to me that this team is going to get themselves out of this endless cycle of mediocrity. It just feels like it's like previous year team where they're probably going to be good enough to make it to the playoffs. They're going to have some good spell because Phil Neville team always tends to have some good spell at times, followed by some really bad spell of play throughout the season. And if it's going to happen maybe near the end of the season, I wouldn't be surprised they can drop as low as 11 plays and might have just kind of play their self out of the playoffs. And if that, of course, is the case, there's no doubt Phil Neville is going to get shown the door as a resort. But there you have it. That is pretty much it. Talk about the Portland Timbers in the season preview. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of this season preview. If you're a Timbers fan, what do you think is the strength, the weakness, the free big question, and your prediction and expectation is for this team heading into this season. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.